Hello, and thank you for joining us for this Thrive Today special webinar on making peace contagious. My name is Christy Harang, and I will be your host for our time together today. So, we are all facing a really difficult time in our world right now. There's a lot of unknowns, and none of us are immune to that. There are challenging times that we're in, and yet in Jesus, we have access to his joy and his peace, no matter what circumstances we have. And we also have this beautiful opportunity to share that joy and to share that peace with others in our lives. So today I'm really excited because Amy Brown, who is a relational trainer with Thrive Today and the director of Journey Groups with Deeper Walk International, is going to be joining us to share with us a simple three-step process of how we can interact with Jesus, receive his peace, and how we can take that peace and spread it to others. So I'm going to introduce her in just a second, but before that, I want to remind you guys that this is being recorded, so please take your registration link, email it to friends, put it on your social media. They can register and receive the recording. Our world is desperately in need of the peace of God right now. And we want to make this contagious. We want to get it out there and love on people and just give this gift away. So please just share the love with people. So with that, Amy, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. This is such a concerning time, and yet for us as believers, and then especially as people who've been equipped with some of the tools that are available from Thrive Today, it can actually be exciting because we know that our God is such an incredible redeemer that he never, ever wastes anything. And so he is alive, well, on the throne and at work in each of our lives, and he is his peace is contagious. And so it's just one of my goals, and the goal, I've been here talking with Chris and Jen Coursey, and our goals to make peace more contagious than coronavirus, and we can do that. So I wanted to start by reading John 16:33. And let's just think about this verse in light of our current circumstances. I have said these things to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world. So yeah, we are in a wonderful place. We are in Christ. We are in his hands. So we wanted to share the materials that we're going to be sharing today are from a small book called Passing the Peace. We'll tell you at the end of the webinar how to get access to that book. I would encourage you to purchase it in quantities and share, because it's a wonderful book. It's very simple, and it gives several different ways to pass the peace with individuals, with groups, orally, and in writing. So it's just a tremendous resource, and we want to share that, and we want to also share a couple of resources, a couple of other resources that are available too. So what is passing the peace? So it's exciting to think that the first thing, and it's challenging also, that the very first thing is for us to practice our own peace. And so the steps that we're going to talk about today and talk about leading other people through, they are first and foremost for you. We know that when we're on an airplane and there's a problem, the oxygen masks drop. First, we put on our own oxygen mask, and then we help those who need it. And that is exactly the situation we are in now. The oxygen mask is dangling, folks, and we are to pick it up, put it on our faces, and turn to those around us. So we have something that the world does not have. So this idea of passing the peace is based on a number of things, but one of the things is that there are kind of three levels of thankfulness that we talk about in Passing the Peace. And so the first level of thankfulness that you might help people to achieve is just a general sense of thankfulness. And that can come about when we are just kind to people, when we might help someone with something that they need, when we let people know that we're with them. That just kind of results in a general sense of thankfulness without it being anything specific. The second level of thankfulness is specific appreciation within a person for memories of times that they felt connected, peaceful, joyful, or accepted. So that's the second level. We want people to be connecting to specific appreciation memories. And then the third level of thankfulness is to actually be connected with the God who is giving us these good gifts. Anytime we're in that level of specific appreciation, we are actually interacting with God because we are interacting with a gift that he has given us, but we may not be aware of it. So this third level is where we're actually aware, oh, I am interacting with God. So how do we walk people through these steps? And so we have some slides to share with you about going through these steps. And so the first step is going to be helping people move into appreciation. And so the first thing that we will do, and how might we be doing this? So I'm going to kind of share the process, but I'm also going to share where you might be doing this so you can kind of get a picture of what I'm talking about. So this could be in a kind of formal setting or a family gathering where we do have people who are together now, and they're a lot of people are either having to shelter in place or self-isolate or practice some physical distancing. I don't think we need to do social distancing. I think we need to do physical distancing. We still need to stay well connected socially. So you could be doing this in a group. You might tell your family, hey, I learned something that could help us stay connected to peace. Do you want to try this together? You might be doing it with someone who calls you on the phone and says, wow, all of this is freaking me out. I'm really anxious and nervous. And you could even do a quick version of this with people that you meet as you're out and about, if you're still out and about in your community. So the first thing that you want to do is to take some deep breaths and to guide either the group or the person with you. Let's take a few deep breaths. So we have them take a few deep breaths, or you may want to use the phrase slow breaths or slow deep breaths, because if people take deep breaths too rapidly, they can hyperventilate, and that does not lead to peace or appreciation. So slow deep breaths. And then we say the first step is to find a memory where you feel peaceful or grateful. And we do this because appreciation helps us enter a very relational state of mind. It actually changes and turns on, synchronizes our relational brain. So the phrases that I usually use are a memory where you felt peaceful, grateful, joyful, connected, or accepted. So they're not looking for all of that, but just one of those, because depending on the person, one of those words may really resonate with them and make them more easily connect to their appreciation memories. And so one of the things we notice in step one is that you may need to coach people a little bit. So one of the ways that we can coach people, if someone has taken a few slow deep breaths and they say, I'm not getting anything when I think about my memories right now, I am still feeling anxious. So we can say, well, sometimes it helps to think of different categories of things. And so maybe there might be a place or a time when you were in nature. What about a pet? Um, what about a sport or a hobby? What about children? Your children or grandchildren. So think, what about a favorite song? It may be a favorite worship song, or it can be, we're looking for right now, this does not have to be a God memory. So we're looking for a time where they felt joyful or peaceful. So it could be a song that, was one of their favorite songs when they were younger, one they sang in church or sang at VBS or sang with their friends. And so when we coach people with these different categories, then, we give them time and take time and let them think. And then when they find the memory, then we ask them. And another thing I want to tell you, and this is a tip from Jim Wilder about when you're walking people through an exercise, because people have an inner resistance, our brains have a little bit of a resistance to being told what to do. It is a good idea to just simply say, the first step is to take some slow, deep breaths and then find a memory. So in other words, I'm not saying I want you to or what you should do, anything like that. I'm just laying this before the person. The first step is to take some slow, deep breaths and find a memory where you felt peaceful or grateful. And if you remember and want to use those other categories like I mentioned, you can, but just peaceful or grateful. And so then we come to step 2. And so as the person finds themselves an appreciation memory and we invite them to fully enter into that. As a matter of fact, Christy, if you could go back to step 1. In step 1, you can also invite people, you can say, think about what you saw and heard, think about where you were, who was with you, how you felt emotionally, and how you felt in your body. So those are some of the things that can help with step 1. So now we'll move to step 2. Thank you, Christy. So for step 2, we'll just simply say the next step is to open up your heart and listen to God. See if you sense God's presence with you. And so you can word this in a few different ways. You can say the next step is to open yourself up to God and see if you sense Him. The fascinating thing about this step is that Jim and Kitty Wilder have done this with refugees who are of Muslim background, so they don't know Jesus, but God is well able to connect with people when they invite Him. And so what Jim and Kitty would do was they might not say God, they might say, open your heart and see if you sense peace. These people that are resistant to God are not resistant usually to peace. You could also use the word light, because we know that Jesus is the light of the world and He is the Prince of Peace, and He is extremely able to meet with them without them knowing the word Jesus, which of course is simply His English name. It's not even the name He was known by. So it's a beautiful thing that we can do this with people that are pre-believers. They haven't yet met Jesus, but they can meet Him in this step. So in this step, we just invite them to listen or notice what thoughts come to mind. because we know that God speaks to us within our own thoughts. And notice if they begin to feel peace. So invite them to notice, are you feeling some peace now? And so when they feel peace, you can ask, does that peace seem glad to be with you? Does that light seem glad to be with you? If they are not a believer, and if they are a believer, you can just say, what do you sense God might be saying to you? Or what thoughts are coming to your mind that bring peace? Because we know that God's thoughts are going to help us, they're going to bring peace. So this appreciation and the relational state of mind that we've brought about through appreciation will walk us right into connection with God. So we invite them, and if they are sharing with us, or if we can sense, a lot of times if someone closes their eyes and they're doing this exercise, we can usually sense from their facial expressions if they are sensing peace, if they are interacting. And then we may notice that they open their eyes and look at us when they're finished, or you may notice that they seem like they might be about to start fidgeting, and that probably means that they've heard some things. They're ready to move to the next step. And so then we just simply tell them the next step. And so the next step is to share your story. And it's important to share the story because our brain experiences the story and the piece, the experience differently when we share it out loud with someone else. And also it is really the first step for other people to begin. This is passing the piece. We are actually going to pass our piece story. And so what we can do is we can say the next step is for you to share your story, share your piece story, and here's some steps to doing that, so that they know, because we're not used to telling we're used to telling all the details about how upset we have been and how scared we are and all the bad things, and then we might tack on at the end, and then this person helped me get some peace and it was neat. But that's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is to invite other people into our peace experience. And so the way to guide them through telling their story is, what is one sentence that shares what your feelings were like before we did this exercise? So one sentence. And then what are one or two thoughts that brought you peace during this exercise? And then the last step is, how did you feel after we did the exercise? And so you can actually just say, you don't even have to tell them initially, okay, you're going to share your story. You can just say, wow, if you were going to tell me one sentence about how you felt before we did this exercise, what would you say? What were one or two thoughts that came to your mind that gave you peace? Wow. And how do you feel now? And then when they share those things, you say, that's how you share your story. That's how you share your peace story. One sentence about how you felt before, two thoughts of what gave you peace, and then how did you feel afterwards? So once we tell our story, then we're ready to help our friends find peace too. So we want to encourage people to pass it on. Say, we can pass this piece by telling your story and then inviting someone to go through the steps you went through. So you can simply say, wow, I did this exercise with my friend Amy, and before I was feeling this way, I had these two thoughts that brought me peace. Now I'm feeling this way. Do you want to do the exercise? It's as simple as that. It's just amazing and beautiful. So, so Christy, why don't we just move off of the slides and let's do this. I'm going to just use you. So, yeah, so tell me a little bit, just a few sentences of how things have been feeling lately. What are a few words you would use to describe your feelings?
That's great. Yeah, actually, I've been feeling, a little bit of overwhelm with all the shifts and changes, kids coming back home from school, and just it feels like everything's moving. So, been a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit jittery, a little bit on edge.
Okay. That sounds reasonable. I
Yeah.
can relate. Well, I have an exercise that we could do. And the first step, would you like to try the exercise?
Yeah, let's give it a go.
Okay. Okay. So the first step would be to take some short, deep breaths. And in this step, I invite you to look for an appreciation memory, a memory where you felt grateful or peaceful. And you can just tell me when a memory has come to your mind and I'll give you some next steps.
Okay, I am thinking of just snuggling with my 8-year-old at bedtime,
Yeah.
and he gives the best hugs and the best smiles, and we just really enjoy connecting with each
Okay.
other at night. I
Okay.
have a memory of doing that with him.
Okay. So it takes a minute or so for our brain to warm up. So I'd invite you want to sit with that memory for a minute?
Yeah.
You can think about what it was like and what you saw, heard, felt, what emotions you had, what your body felt like. Just think of those things. Okay, so the next step is to open up your heart and see if you sense God. Just invite God to join you. Mm. See if you have a sense of peace from God. And just notice what thoughts are coming into your mind. Hey, wow. Looks like that was touching. And
It was so good. Yeah. So good.
yeah. That's awesome. So the next step, I would love to hear. So you said before you were feeling a little overwhelmed and things were chaotic. So could you tell me one or two thoughts that brought you peace?
Yeah. So I had the memory of being with my son, and actually he'll invite me to like lay in with him and snuggle. And then what I sensed was God was like this big guy who was getting in bed with us, like, hey, come
Mm.
over, I want in on this. And he was just joining us and joining in on the fun, and we were laughing and we were just enjoying being together. And
Oh, wow.
so it was very, it brought a lot of peace, but it also, that peace involved laughter and enjoyment and just kind of
Yeah.
savoring the moment.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I could see that on your face. So, yeah, if you were gonna tell me a couple of sentences of how you're feeling now, how would you describe how you're feeling now?
I feel very full, like
Mm.
satisfied and content and joyful and peaceful.
Mm, okay, that's wonderful. So the last step of the exercise is for you to share the story. And so I would invite you to share the story by telling people just one sentence about how you felt before you did the exercise, and then two thoughts, one or two thoughts for what brought you peace and how you felt afterwards.
Okay. So
Okay.
before the exercise, I was feeling a little bit jittery and kind of like,
Yeah.
and then during the exercise, I really experienced God's presence with me, and in this memory, him joining me and my son, but sensing him with me, being playful and
Mm,
engaged. And so I experienced his playfulness and joy and his peace.
mm,
And so afterward, it left me feeling very full,
ooh,
content, um, very much a sense of him being with me, so not feeling alone. And yeah, that left me feeling very peaceful.
mm. Great. Thank you so much.
You're
So,
welcome. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. So even when in this situation, so you knew I had told you that we would lead you through this, but so how did the exercise um, work for you, even knowing that you were going to do it? How was that?
It was great. I was thinking, oh, I mean, I don't normally struggle a ton with hearing God when I'm listening for him, but I thought, oh, we're going to be online, and like
Yeah.
I have something in the back of my mind, and God just immediately brought something to mind that wasn't on my mind,
Mm-hmm.
and he just showed up in such a beautiful, unexpected way that was totally new,
Yeah.
different from what I've experienced before. So it was a great experience, and just me getting to enjoy the fact God is with me right now,
Yeah.
even as we're demonstrating this exercise. He's with
Yeah.
me and has something to share with me right now. So it was really
Yeah.
encouraging.
Yeah. Thank you. So I asked that question because I want our listeners to know that this can be surprising even when we know that it's coming. And so for people who don't realize what exercise you're going to lead them through, it can be really have a strong impact. Um, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to just lead everybody that's on the webinar and those who are going to be listening later through the exercise so that you can practice, and then after we do that, we'll have time for comments and questions and answers. So let's all of us take a couple of slow, deep breaths. And the next step is to notice, think about an appreciation memory, and that would be one where you felt peaceful or grateful. And just notice what comes into your mind. Once you have a memory in your mind, I invite you to notice what you saw and felt and heard, touched. You may have even tasted or smelled in that memory. So we're going to fully enter into it. You can see if you notice what your emotions were and how your body felt. And now from that place of that appreciation memory, just open yourself up to God and see if you notice His peace. Notice His presence or His peace with you. You may notice Him with you here as you're doing the exercise, or you may notice that He's with you in that memory. See what thoughts come to your mind that might bring you some peace. Okay, so now as we finish that part of the exercise, the next step would be to think of one sentence for how you were feeling before the exercise. Two thoughts, one or two thoughts that gave you peace. And how do you feel now? One sentence for how do you feel now? Um, if you want to do it the way Thrive Today does stories, you could think of how do you feel now in your body and in one body word and one emotion word. So we have a chat window, and so if any of you would like to share just a few thoughts there. And then we also have the Q&A box. And so if you have questions, we'll go to those next. But I would love for a few people just to note how they feel. If you want to, if you can do it in a 1, 2, 3, how I felt before, my thought that gave me peace, how I feel now. So I'm going to give you guys a moment.
Mm-hmm. So for you guys, just in case you're unaware, at the bottom you will have a little bar, or sometimes it's at the top. So just click on the chat link to be able to put in what you want to communicate. So we've got someone saying before they were riled, scratchy, chaotic, another unsettled. I felt unsure because I wondered what I'm supposed to do. Before I felt over-focused on a problem. A bit stressed, snuggling my husband. Oh, she went into the whole thing. I felt scattered and distracted, scattered, vague, anxiety.
Okay, what, maybe some of you can share. Okay, we got tense and rigid, anticipation, hope, maybe a little bit nervous, not knowing what to say to my boss, scattered. So what about step 2? What were a thought or two that gave you peace? Oh, and we had somebody that felt resistant. You want to share some of those, Christy?
Okay, so for peace, he has more good events planned for me afterward. He is for me. Let's see, hold on, this is moving. Like God was with me. Sorry, it's moving so fast. I'm having a hard time staying on it. I was reminded God was holding me up, giving me strength, and bringing me hope.
Ooh, yeah.
So good. Okay, I was watching my girls swinging in circles. I sensed Jesus standing next to me, laughing at them with his arm around my shoulder, enjoying them and me. Let's see. I felt like God was with me, but there was also sadness. I remembered walking my dog in the sunshine yesterday. I sensed God's delight in being with me and delighted to lead me gently. A thought that calmed me was that Jesus was standing behind me and I could turn toward him. When I turned around, he said, "You did a good job." Do you want any more, or do you want to move on to?
I believe someone asked about changing the settings so they can see all the chats. On mine, it's set to where I can send the chat to all panelists and attendees, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, this says it's to all. Oh, I can do that. Here we go. Can everybody see it now? It should show to everybody.
And if you can't, then I will copy them and put them in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. All right.
I'll read another while you're doing that. I felt warm and loved and cared for by Jesus.
Yeah.
My memory was with many scenes where God was there on mission trips playing with animals. God was totally showing me all the ways he's been leading me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, so we do have one question, so we can kind of go back and forth in between chat and questions. So
Amy, do you want to do, I had planned, but it's up to you. Do you want to go through our resources really quick and then jump back to the questions?
Why don't we do that? That's a great idea.
So
yes. Sorry.
You have a Q&A folder, so sorry. So go ahead and start putting your questions in the Q&A. And then while we're doing that, I just want to share with you some really simple resources we have for you guys. First of all, Amy has some fabulous online resources with Thrive Today. She has an online practice community, which is an event where she does teaching, and that also has practical exercises that you can use on the spot. So you take what you're learning and you implement it right on the spot. She also has some relational building block events that are very similarly modeled to the online practice community. All of those are available for just $10. So you can put together your own boot camp. It's down there, resources / online practice community. Actually, and I'm going to link in the comments. I'll put the link for you guys as well.
Okay, great.
So is it April 18th, Amy, that you're doing
Yes.
it? Okay, on April 18th, Amy has one that's going deeper on what we're talking about today called Higher Altitude, having God's perspective. So she's going to be talking through how can we learn to view our world and our lives through the eyes of God. This will be so helpful because God's not worried about anything, right? So if we can see things the way he sees it, it will bring so much more strength and peace. So you can sign up for that at thrivetoday.org under the resources tab. Amy already mentioned that what she shared today is based on the book Passing the Peace. This can be found at Life Model Works. And so this book is specifically designed to help equip us with the ability to help people find peace and recover in times of crisis and disaster. So it's perfect for a time like this. And we also have Joyful Journey, which can be found at that same website. And this book is really great for teaching you how to practice God's presence every day, how to have an interactive relationship with Him. And then we finally have Share a Manual. And so this is a short booklet. And I want to say all these books are short. They're really simple resources.
Yeah.
But this booklet provides a simple way for you to share a manual healing with others. So people who need healing in their lives, if you want to be more equipped to lead people through encountering God and receiving healing, this is a fabulous resource. And so I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to stop the share on that, and I'm going to actually type these right now into, oh, that did not work. Hold on. Let me just, I'm going to type, oh, I did have it. Sorry. It was so long, I thought I messed up. I'm going to type these right into our box right now. So this has all of those links if you want easy access, and you are also going to be emailed these links tomorrow.
Yes. So one thing I wanted to clarify is that, so if you can go to the slide about the online practice community, the first slide about the online, that one. Okay, so these are all the previous online practice community events and relational building block events. So each one of these is a 3-hour Thrive training event. Some of them have new content, new exercises. So all the previous ones are in the online practice community, and they're called after event viewing, and those are the ones that are $10. So if we move forward to the next slide, because I want to clarify and not disappoint anybody.
And so this one should be $19.
This one, but no, it's actually, they're $25 now.
Okay.
So the brand new ones, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, so the live ones will be, this live one will be $25, and then the past ones will be $10, and this is a special that we want to help people during this time, and particularly if some of you are at home and you're able to spend a little bit of time, or you can also play these on Zoom. So even as you're doing physical distancing, you can play these on Zoom and have other people watch them with you using the share button on your Zoom. So this is something that you can do with other people. And so this could be a really, really important thing for you to share with your community, with your people, with your family members in this time. So you can go to those older events, the ones that we've already completed, and have and create your own, mix of what do you need. So
wonderful. Thank you for that clarification, Amy.
Yeah. So
questions. So do you have any tips on when the appreciation memory, this is such a good question, on when the appreciation memory also triggers grief or feelings of sadness?
Okay, yeah. So that's really important, and that happens. So what you can do, if somebody says, well, I can't find, I can't find an appreciation memory except for one that is sad. That is one of the times when it's really good to invite them to consider those categories that are less people-oriented. So, well, what is your favorite song? Or do you have a pet at home? Or, do you love to worship? Do you have a hobby that you enjoy? And so I have a friend who loves trains, loves, the old steam locomotives, the new ones, just really loves trains. And that can be appreciation. I know people who love sports teams. If your team won the Super Bowl this year, you can find lots of joy in thinking about that and so forth. So Yeah, so you can help coach people to find appreciation memory that does not have grief and sadness. So that's attachment pain. And so we call those splinters. So we want to pull the splinters out.
That's really good. And I've heard another one is food, like your favorite, imagining your
Oh,
favorite
yeah.
meal. I love that. If you just have a meal you love, just sit and imagine that and savor it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
so John mentions not to forget the resource of Shalom My Body.
Yes.
So that's a great recommendation. And then Kelly Thompson asked the same question. How do I process feeling joy and sadness with God in my memory? Do you have anything you want to add to that? Because sometimes sadness may not be necessarily a terrible thing that sends us in a bad place, but.
Yeah. So this would be a time when it would be good to connect with another person and say, hey, I've noticed that I'm feeling joy and sadness with this particular memory. So the important thing is that you connect with appreciation, you connect with that sense of God, and then from that connection, you look at that sadness and ask God what he wants you to know. And so it's important that we stay in our what we call the appreciation seat, and so that is that is just a really important safety net. It's the word I was looking for. So yeah, the safety net is to continue to go back to that appreciation memory, and so that you can stay connected with God, and he does want to help you process the sadness. So yeah. So I noticed that somebody had had a question about someone that was talking about that COVID-19 is more political and not medical, and just like really amplifying the fear about it. And so yes, this can be sufficient. For these steps can be sufficient to help people find some peace, even in these big things, because God is with us. God is enough. Our lives do not depend even on American democracy continuing. Our lives do not depend on people in our families being healthy. Our lives our lives really are seated in heavenly places with Christ. And as we interact with God, with these appreciation memories, and we interact with God, we want to build that attachment to God so that is so secure, so secure. So this is a really important time to just practice his presence, talk with him constantly, journal very regularly, so that your relationship with him really is the anchor, the rock, the refuge that he intends.
So good.
Yeah.
So one person is saying, I had a hard time connecting with peace. What do you do then?
Yeah, so when you have a hard time connecting with peace, then you continue to focus on appreciation. Okay, because appreciation is, it activates some things in our brain. So when we were doing this, we didn't stay in that appreciation memory for a full 3 minutes. And it takes at least 3 minutes of staying in appreciation to get your brain in that malleable state of what they call plasticity. And so one of the things that Chris and Jen will tell us, that often the hardest thing is to get people to stay in the appreciation place long enough to get connected to God and to his peace. And then once they get connected, things move smoothly. But we tend to think that appreciation is just, kind of a quick, oh, that's a nice thing. I'm going to, say thank you to God. But it is a really, really key piece of this. So I would just practice appreciation. One of the things that you can do is the 30-day reset, which is where you get yourself a list of appreciation memories that are splinter free, and then you focus on those for 5 full minutes 3 times a day for 30 days. And that will help your brain get reset to noticing and amplifying joy and peace.
That's wonderful. Awesome. Do we have freedom to share previous events after you buy for the $10 without charging those we share with? Like you suggested, if you did a Zoom screening with friends.
Well, these are a new resource, and we are trying to make enough money to continue presenting them. So we would appreciate that at this reduced rate that you get as many people to register as possible. If you are going to do a group and you would like to ask us, feel free to email me at amy@thrivetoday.org, and we'll look at group pricing, so that it may be that some of us can, so that you might be able to pay for some other people to do it. So
okay. Now, what about this woman who had a little trouble inviting God into the memory? Any suggestions for her?
Yeah, so it may be a good idea to see if you notice peace in the memory, and then ask him. You don't have to necessarily invite him in. You can ask him, because he's there, so you can ask him to show you where he is. And you may want to find another memory if there's any particular reason that particular memory gave you a little bit of trouble. But and again, you may need to do a little bit longer in the appreciation memory to get your brain, because our brains, like I said at the beginning, can be resistant to new things. So
can I mention something too, Amy, that I found helpful is sometimes I was very, very analytical. So I would find I would analyze everything, which made it a little harder to just receive from Jesus. And so if you tend to be analytical, a really great tip is just to kind of try to tune out everything else and just grab onto the very first thing that pops in, the very first thought, the very first picture, without analyzing it all. Just receive that, because God, he can override our, sometimes our brains are going so fast. So we want to get past our own left brain analytical mode so that we can receive from him. So that's been really helpful for me, is just to grab onto the very first thing that pops in my mind.
That's a good idea. So my friend Lisa is wanting to offer a version of this to children via Zoom with their parents peeking in, since she works as a Christian formation coordinator at a church that hasn't yet embraced all of this. So I think, the first suggestion I would have is, this is a great time to do this. Kids are at home. I am not above taking advantage of the fact that the parents might like the children to have 30 minutes where they are doing something and the parents can do a few other things. So this is a great time to do that, and that is an amazing idea. And so resources, you mentioned resources that would help your credibility. If you, yes, you can say, I have been trained by Thrive Today in a process or an exercise called passing the peace. Okay, so if they were to for some reason contact us, we'd be glad to tell people, that yes, we have a training about passing the peace. I would also share the recording of this. Let's see, I'm not sure. The other questions that you had, if you can email me, we can talk more about that. So.
And we have a couple in the chat window as well.
Mm-hmm.
One woman, I couldn't get out of the resistance, but found connection, peace, joy, hearing Christy sharing her story. Is it okay to piggyback on one another like that? How long would or could that be okay to practice that way? Oh, that's such a good question. I love that.
Yes. God designed us so that we share our capacity with each other. That is another way of talking about how his presence enables us to do things. He's sharing his capacity with us. And so Christy was sharing her connection with you, her capacity to connect with God. And that is fine. This is why we pass the peace with stories. So listening to other people's stories and listening to somebody's peace story can be your appreciation memory. So listening to Christy today might be your appreciation memory that helps you stay connected to God for the next number of days. So yeah, someone asked if we had a PDF about the 30-day reset, and we do. Let's see, I'm going to be a little bit out of pocket. I will provide that to Christy. Would that be okay with you, Christy?
Mm-hmm.
Christy, Kristy at thrivetoday.org. And
I'll put it in here.
Yeah. Okay. And someone asked about Lisa's 30-minute for kids. She is just hoping to offer that. I don't think that has been developed yet. I would encourage all of you, if you are not already what is called a relational ambassador with Thrive Today, if you are eager to share these concepts, then go to the Thrive Today website and share. There's a relational ambassadors page and you can register. And we also have some PDFs. And so I think that would probably be a good PDF to share there. It may already be on there. I believe it might be. And then we also have the handout that comes from Life Model Works. They've given us permission to share it. And it is the cartoons that we showed today with actually the words that we shared in 22 different languages. So this is a tremendous resource to pass to anybody that you know that has people in other countries, or people who, if you're connected with people who speak other languages, got lots and lots of, so yeah.
Yeah. So Amy, if you get me any of that information, I will put that in the email that is going to be going out tomorrow to the attendees.
Okay. So do you see Stacy's comment? Be an ambassador link is password protected.
Oh, that's receiving that is in order to receive. I'll put the link for it, you guys, in the email as well. So you're going to receive an email with a bunch of these different links. The password protected is just to access the resources. You should be able to register without the password. But I will send that out via the email as well, just in case.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Right. Well, we are at our time, but thank you, Amy, for sharing with us. I experienced peace just hearing you walk us through everything. It was just really beautifully done. And I want to thank you all for coming out and just remind you that we need this, right? I needed this. Amy and I took some time to have peace before we started, but the world around us needs it. So pass this out to people. Again, you can take the registration link you use to register and put that on social media, email it to people, and they can register and get the recording. We really want to make this contagious. And Yeah, so blessings to you all. We speak
Yes.
God's peace and blessing on you, that you can continue to connect with him amidst of everything that's happened. Stay encouraged. God is big. He is good. He is with us. He is in control. He is not scared. So we don't have to be, because he holds our
True.
hand. So I just encourage you to remember that. And we love you all and hope you have a great
Yes,
day.
we do. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being with us. And let's stay in touch.
All right. Bye.
Bye.